Hi, I'm Sherry, and welcome back to my channel, Sherry Jones Designs, where we like to upcycle clothing and other things and have a lot of fun along the way. So thank you for joining me here. Today is going to be a little bit different. I have one question that I have been asked several times, and it is how to increase the bust line of a garment. Some people have asked me this. It is a little tricky because, especially if you don't want it to be too visual to the front of the garment. How do you make the bust line bigger in a garment without ruining the overall look of the garment? So we're going to talk about that today and what we can do to increase our bust line of our upcycled garments. Now, it is apparent, obviously, when you look at a piece of clothing that is solid from side to side, and there's no extra fabric you can't pull a seam and go wider. Like if you need an inch or more, you're going to have to add fabric. You can't use the fabric already there. So the question is, what fabric and where? Where do you add it? And one of the biggest problems I've had when I'm selling upcycles is everybody wants a few more inches. And at first I did not know what to do. I will be honest with you. And you're desperate to sell something. You're just starting out. You've got you've made your stop, and somebody says, "Hey, can you size that up 2 inches?" And you're like, I want to. So I want to show you what I do to give 2 to 4 inches. If I say I can size that up 2 to 4 inches, here's what I do to that garment. All right, just to be clear, I'm not talking about simply taking a shirt. Let's say you had a men's shirt or any shirt, and you just want to add more to the bust line, and you think you can do something magically to it to make the bust line bigger without adding any fabric to it. You're not going to get very much. You might be able to take out a little bit of the seam here on the side or something like that. But in order to add to your bust line, you have to add fabric to your garment. It's not going to magically get bigger. There's nothing you can do to this shirt to make it fit you through the bust line if you're not going to add fabric. So just so we're clear, I'll be very, very, very clear here. So what I generally do, I will show you an upcycle I have here and what I would do on this particular garment to add something to the to the bust. So I'm using this as just an example. If a customer called and they wanted some more to the bust line is here. So I'm going to have to add more fabric. So what I do is I will cut this garment right here. And if I need to, I will go up into the sleeve a little bit. Okay, you're just going to cut it. And in this case, I've got extra right here. And so I would come down into here. You take a seam ripper and rip this extra out. And then you're going to add, and I'll show you when you turn it like this. Once you cut up like this, and you've got your extra here and you pulled this all out, you now have a triangular shape. So you're going to take a complementary fabric of something that you've used in your garment, and you're going to cover that. I usually put it underneath it and then stitch it in place. And I can get up to 4 inches or more into the bust line by simply cutting underneath and like that, and adding a triangle under the sleeve. Then you haven't destroyed your upcycle that you created. You haven't changed anything. Now notice in this one, this shirt wasn't big enough for what I wanted. So I split the shirt in half, added a piece in the middle, and that's how I made the bust bigger in this one, to make this one a bigger size. And I even came in and added a couple pieces here to close in the neckline a little bit because I thought it was just a little bit too big. And notice how on the back side I added in the same amount. Whatever you do to the front, you want to also do to the back. I added a different piece of pink into the back. And that's another way that you can add width. Right here, this is how you can add width to any shirt that you would have. Another way you can add width is by coming out here, cutting here and adding a piece in here. You've seen me do that in videos. And you can slant the shoulder. It looks better if you slant your shoulder. I didn't, but it does look better. The piece that you put in here so that the shoulder continues down on a slant. But you can widen it by simply cutting on the side of your collar straight down and adding a piece in there. Another way that you can add a little bit of width to the bust line. Let's say this was your shirt and you wanted to add some width to your bust line. Remember, we have the under the sleeve option where you can cut in and put a pretty, like you can just cut up to where your sleeve starts and go like this. Turn it like this and add a triangle to flare it out. And that'll give you, however big your flare is up here, that will give you, you could probably get about 3 inches that way. If you only need about 1 inch, another thing you can do is come to the back of your garment and make sure you go up as high as the bust, which is your under your sleeve here area. You can cut down and add a V into the back like that. And flare your shirt a little bit and do that. And that you can add a few inches that way. And you could do small ones, like I've seen them done with two small ones. And you could even, if you wanted to, you could even do it on the front here. Hold on here, get this laid off flat. But you could even come here and do it here straight down and add a couple more V-shaped pieces in here. So those are some of the ways. I don't know how else, because you cannot, like if you want this shirt change nothing but want to make it bigger, you know, you just can't do that, because the only amount you're going to get is you can come in on your seam and try to make it your seam here narrower, but look how narrow that already is. Let's see if I can get that in the light. See, you're already only talking maybe 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. You know, you can't go too thin or that you won't have a seam left. So just, you know, you just have to be creative when you try to add extra to your bust line. I think that if it was me and I wanted the least intrusive method, I would probably do the V on the side, where you would just cut up and just add a slice in there on the side all the way down. Now, if you're upcycling the whole thing and you're cutting your shirt off high anyways, then I'd V it first when it was short and then add your pieces on down if you don't want to see the triangle run all the way down like a stripe on the side. I've done this before. You just go ahead and slice, and you can go up into the sleeve even 1 inch or so and add your little triangle in there, get it the width you need it, and then go ahead and upcycle the lower portion of the garment. That's my best suggestion. All right, guys, well, that's it for me on this one. I don't know of any other way of adding extra to a bust line than the ways that I showed you. If you know of a different way, I'd love to hear about it. And let me know in the comment section down below. And let me know if you've used any of these techniques. Which one is your favorite way to add a little bit extra to the bust line? So I'd love to hear that. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. You're all such a blessing. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Until then, happy sewing.